Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're now listening to the Mind of an Terry's Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, we're gonna get into signs. And y'all know when I talk, I'm Archangel Uriel. I've been in all realms of reality. So y'all know when I reach the surface or go beneath the surface, it's going there. So let's talk about signs. Now, before we get into anything, we have to get a clear understanding. When we say signs, I'm talking about as in, you know, people say I seen signs. You see a lot of signs outside. You draw signs and things of that nature. Now, signs in general, what is signs? Signs, something rise from signs. Phi come from signs. You know what I'm saying? Signs. There's lies in signs. You see what I'm saying? To make sure a sign looks straight or geometrically straight, it has to be fine. Fine lines. Signs or lines. You know what I'm saying? And signs give rise in their prime. Signs shine. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that come with signs. But before we even get into all that, now we need to get into a race of beings called the U's. It's an esoteric in the astral plane. There's a group of beings called the U's. Now, it's not technically the language or you, how I'm saying it. It's basically the vibration. You, once you meditate and go into the vibration of everything you represents, you'll start to understand a little bit more of their frequency vibrations and how they came about. Because everything get manifested and multiplied. Just like the baby kids, we don't die, we multiply. Everything in this realm multiply. So when there's a thought, that thought going to be multiplied. So I just gave y'all a little leeway or a crutch to getting in your realm of reality of understanding the group with the race of beings called the U's. Now they was here before the Atlanteans, Lemurians, the Greys, the Octarians, whatever race of beings, they was here before them. You see what I'm saying? So, and what happens is anytime a frequency, aka a spirit, goes into a realm of reality, it takes the shape and form. So it starts to take shape. So and it even starts to take sides because it's duality now. So it got a polar side shift to it now. So now this is like something picking sides within itself, but still polar opposite. So it became the race of beings of you, even the vibration you creates a you in the vibration. So what happens here is when they came in the realm of reality, it took shape and form and became like a magnet. So now they became a part of the sea. So now this race of beings is like beings, they beings of the sea. And I'm not talking about as far as the beings like fish and sharks that's in the sea. These are beings of the sea. This like you're in this world, but you're not of this world. These beings they're not in the water, they're of the water. You see what I'm saying? So these beings are of the sea, which is the original land here. You see what I'm saying? Before land, which brings us in, which is a great segue, which brings us into the next part when we're talking about signs now. Now these group of beings, right? One of their missions and one of their situations and vibrations that they was on was landscaping, creating landscapes. And they understood, because of the kind of beings that they was less dense. They understood that as above, so below. There's always going to be a above to a below, but there's always going to be a below to an above. So you see what I'm saying? They understood this mechanism. So it's almost like setting up shop in your space and realm of reality. So this is I'm talking about right now. This is the development of even Earth, because Earth is a planet also, and energies here has to align also. But let's these was some of the race of beings helping Earth align itself with the rest of the planets. So Earth can stay in rotation in the one being it's in when they all come together as a rapture. And then when that being come together as a rapture, which is a solar system, it becomes a galaxy. But that's another video. But look, now this race of beings, they was into landscaping, so they understood as above, so below. So when we get into the concepts of signs now, with this race of beings, to understand landscaping, they had to understand the energy of the planets. And they had to understand the forces. So what they did was say you get something of the same thing, it caused friction. That's like taking a rock and drawing on the earth. Now back then, this is less dense, so it was less physical, so it's more like mist water-like at the time, but at the same time, it was still how you see it. How you may go out and appear that concrete was hard, and they realm of reality, that's how they got physical things that they appear as hard. But it might be so less dense in your 3D physical form, you wouldn't even be able to see it. Because it's not physically in your dense reality. It's a higher dense. So things that's hard to them may be something that you walk through every day. But that's another video. You see what I'm saying? Now, when we get to back in this time, right? What they took was, they drew, now the original one or the being was just a dot or a point of reference. So they'd create a point of reference from each star, the closest stars. Now, we know stars are consciousness. So in these days, all the planetary alignments was a little closer. They wasn't as far as away. It's like nowadays, y'all got so many other stars and shit that's in front of y'all. Y'all don't know if y'all looking at one planet or another. And y'all giving, back then, it was more closer and more substantiated to the point that the main focus was on the main stars that y'all focus on to this day for this reason right now that I'm getting into. Now, what they did was start a point of reference for each of the closest star, right? So what happened was, as time go on, they draw out, because they was learning how to landscape, because they learning how to build land. You see what I'm saying? So, like I said, figures come out of signs. We're going to get into it. Figures, idols, lines, look, everything come out of signs. But signs are very real. This is what you have to understand. Now, as time went on, when they drew as, like they took a point of reference, like they took in a rock on the ground or whatever the physical thing was in this time, made a point to all the closest stars. As time went on, they drew every time it traveled. This was their sense of entertainment, because their dreams, they was more closer to completing their right and left brain at this time. So their dreams was their life. Their life was their dreams. Their experience was their awake life. Their sleep white life. You see what I'm saying? That's the more it get. When you daydream, people who daydream a lot are beings that haven't lost that science. So it gets, they have a better imagination than a lot of other people, to the point that they can daydream while they can dream while they're awake. But at the same time, the realms of realities and the societies that they're in make them feel like, oh, that's an illusion instead of creativity. So they make your imagination look like an illusion instead of creativity, which there's one and the same, but now since letters and language make you perceive one as being negative and one as being positive. Illusion being negative, creativity being positive. So they utilize your creativity and get paid off your vibration more than you off your creativity. But if you're in an illusion, you have to be a bum somewhere and no one take your idea serious. You see what I'm saying? You have to understand there's no energy. They took all the energy out of it because of how they placed it with the language and that's another video. But getting back to the thing, right? Now, as each planet from start references, say a month passed, say this Pacific planet after a month passed, they realize it makes a shape. It makes a sign. So when they look back after 30 days passed, however they calculated time, one thing they realized was something is going around us, or we're going around it. So we have to map how we're going around, and something is going around, because it's not going straight. We're not mapping this out and we're just going straight in a line. We're mapping this out and we're going around in something. Second of all, the shape that they make, it makes a Pacific shape. You see what I'm saying? So if it was a 30 days one or a 40 days one, and then after them whole days of them shaping it out, it made a shape, and they realized it came around, then they understood the energy, how they had a thought and a vibration, how they felt about that accomplishment when they sat back and accomplished that. And then they gave it, that was the energy it was. So nowadays, you got civilizations that came after them, took these symbols, and may have called that Venus, may have called that may have called that And whoever accessed that vibrational light the best and meditated under that and did whatever in their civilization the best, then they was able to be looked at as gods. But really, you got that power also, it's just you wasn't accessing it. You see what I'm saying? But that's another story. But look, let's talk about, so what they did, this is how they created landscaping. Because they mapped out every planet. because they had the time to do this. This was their form of education. So you see what I'm saying? So as they did this for all planet, they realized they realized the sun took that long to make this shape. The sun made like a big ass star. You see what I'm saying? When it went around, they had to do this and do that. It didn't do a full circle. The sun didn't do a 360 circle, but it created a 360. But as they drew it on the ground, look, reason why I can give y'all this knowledge, because I'm a planet myself. So this is what y'all was doing with me in this time. This is why I'm consciously can bring this science. And this was science that was lost. So anytime you hear anything about me, my kind of science that I'm kicking, anything about Uriel, anything, it's going to be all taken out or replaced with something that they try to make you to make it believe. And it just got some truth to it. But let's back to the subject. So as they mapped out every single planet, right? And every single planet, after they was done mapping it out, like say it did a full rotation, and once they sat back and looked at the shape, right? Then they was able, their thoughts and their feelings, frequency, vibration, their soul and spirit that they had behind it was the energy of it, period. Whether it was good or bad. So these are the U's, what became the C, are beings of the C's, became the actual beings that taught this realm of reality how to look at the signs and how to look at the signs here. That's as above, so below. You see what I'm saying? It's just certain beings came and took it for their certain perspectives, but that's another video. But look, as they mapped out each planet, they mapped out a whole bunch of them. So the time that the sun took before it was called quote unquote the sun or whatever like that, when they made the point being and then shaped it out and realized how long it took, it might have took a whole year, how you look at it, to do a full rotation. They sat back, looked at the shape of their accomplishments once they did the rotation, the thoughts and feelings that they had that they had at the moment that they looked at their accomplishments was the energy force it had for the celestial beings that's going to be living on Earth, from an Earth planetary. And like I said, as above, so below. So when we talk about channeling, anybody you see channeling, whatever they're channeling is channeling them also. So this is what keep Earth aligned. See, everything is relative, relatives, rotation. You see what I'm saying? So that was how Earth is doing with the beings inside Earth, and this being became part of the seas. You know what I'm saying? Which can develop life. We getting into some other shit now. Now look, check this out. Now you got to think about it. When they sat back and looked at what they drew on the ground, it just looked like a bunch of signs. And when they looked at it, it was a bunch of signs interchanging with each other. You see what I'm saying? But they knew which sign was which and started from which point of reference when they started from a point, knowing from which one they point. So say if it was like 7 closest stars that they had when they started, they pointed 7 dots into the ground, whatever caused friction. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, now you have to think about it. Think about all the signs you see, all the letters you see, all the signs, even to the point that you're not even paying attention to the signs you in front of you. You in so many filters, you think you seeing signs from signs. So you may look at a stop sign, and then you may be in so many other realms of realities and religions and stuff, and go somewhere else and say you see a sign in your life that really has nothing to do with the actual sign. And the sign brought that experience, but it may be intellectual beings and stuff that control the vibration of that sign. Because this is what happens. The next civilizations like Kemet and all these other civilizations came and took them signs that was already vibrating with a certain energy and took what they thought they meant from it. So now you got the Ankhs, you got the crosses, you got the eye of Ra. You want to know what this is? This it might look like an eye, but the eye derived from this. This ain't derived from the eye. See, now that's a filter. Now you thinking this derived from an eye, when really the eye derived from this. And you really want to know what this is? This is a motherfucking galaxy spiral. That's all this is. It has a point of reference, then it spirals off. Then these are the spirals that make it spiral. So when you looking at them, looking through your telescope and looking at the that's what this is. You see what I'm saying? So you already in training to be a galaxy. You see what I'm saying? That's what this is. This is not the eye raw. An eye derived from this. An eye look like this. This don't look like an eye. You have to understand that. Rise a little higher. Get from the filters. What's a cross? A cross ain't nothing but as above, so below. So you being here is a cross. That's why everything is a cross. So when they understood this, the planet, the celestial beings, the U's, in the conscious awareness, I experienced all realms of realities. The way they understood this was when you breathe in, breathe out, and when you use your highs and lows. See, that's why I'm creating a new language. I got new letters and everything, and I'm gonna bring that to y'all. But that was the real cross, and beings are actually able to do this. All beings have this. All beings have this. And the moment you think you don't have this, and the moment you give your power to a ankh or a cross, you giving your own power away, because this is you. You have the ability to do this, and you can't live without doing this. You have to breathe in, breathe out. That's your frequency. Frequency is a straight line, your line of events. Then your ability to vibrate, which came seconds. Your ability to feel highs and lows, which brings highs and lows. So that's a cross. So when you see in a frequency vibration, that's what a cross is. A cross in motion, a picture in motion. Because look, what's going across? But when it's vibrating, it's going up and down. Just like you see a flat line. Before somebody dies, if they die, it's a flat line. If they still living, they still vibrating. They still got life in them. That's a cross in motion. That's what a cross actually is. But since you got beings with photographic memories and signs, with signs is where things derive from, where things rise out of, how things get shined on and be able to create things out of. That's the actuality of signs. You see what I'm saying? So when you think you're seeing a sign or whatever like that, you need to sit back and pay attention. Sit back and pay attention how much. Look, once you understand this realm of reality, you understand how much control the signs are. This is how they control you, by signs. And by recreating what they think of the signs. And by them knowing the natural energies of the signs, before the energy go to the natural source, it goes to them, and they get to utilize and manifest anything out of that energy from what they want. So when you go see stop signs and wonder why I say stop and shit like that, and wonder why it's red, you have to think. Look, I'm Archangel Uriel. I'm gonna tell you why it's like that. It's red, and it's the shape of a large amount of pentagons, because at some way, shape, or form, Mars did an alignment. And the energy and the frequencies that they felt, the vibration that they felt once they accomplished it must have been at a certain time that they felt frustrated. They felt angry. They couldn't wait to get it done. They was passionately ready to get this rotation done. And 9 times out of 10, that they probably was frustrated and angry and passionately and desired to get it finished, because that was a later planet of the rotation that they wanted to finish. And it took about, in your time, 3 months. So to them, they was wore out, but they didn't want to stop. So they was passionately wanting to see where it starts at. So this is where you get all your desire from, your passion from, because of the energies how they thought. So when you're receiving it from their actual energy, the celestial beings, the U's, when they came here and formulated it. So when they was done rotating and drawing out and mapping out Mars as a landscape, it was a whole bunch of life derived out of it. And all that life derived out of it, you experience it every day. You experience passion, desire, willpower, motivation. These beings gave you the aspect to understand how to see the planets from your vessel, from being here on Earth. And the better you know how to do that, the better you keep Earth in rotation, you keep Earth aligned, and you keep your own Earth qualities good, and Earth is able to not dissipate or die or go off in rotation, so you won't die. This is why they say take care of the Earth and things of that nature. You're basically already psyched to do these things, but you just don't know why you're doing these things. So the more and more you go into yourself and learn more about things, you think you're rising in consciousness, which you is, but like I said, Archangel Uriel, we the highest consciousness. You feel me? So I'm telling y'all where signs came from in general. So now you ain't got to think about the cross. Only time you be scared about things like that is because of the spookism and the knowledge that the other beings put behind it. That's just like you. You see what I'm saying? So like these beings are planet. These beings called the U's are now part of the C. Because they had to take sides once they got into a realm of reality, and that came second, vibrations, duality, and they became part of the soul, and the soul of here they became part of the sea. So these are the beings of the sea. You see what I'm saying? So they give you the ability these beings give you the real ability to see in this realm of reality. That's why a lot of things is tied to water. See, water itself just come from fluid and vibration. Water ain't really give a fuck about incorporating air with it. Just like fire. Fire really don't give a fuck about that shit. Water got a little bit more compassion and want to share, want to be a part of everything. So water may have a little bit of a little bit of fire in it, heat. Water may have a little bit of air in it, you know what I'm saying, which create H2O and bubbles. Water may have a little bit of earth in it, which is molecules and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why it's not just straight fluid is because of these celestial beings, the U's, and they came here, became the sea. So the sea became a body. You see what I'm saying? Became a body. A body of water. And that's the natural land here. Reason why you think land, you could walk on it, because you in so many realms of realities, and you in 3D and dents and all this shit like that. This is your formulation of form. You know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to tell you so many different formulations of form. But this video is about where signs came from in general. These beings came here, landscaped, and throughout this landscape, then the Atlanteans came and drank the chakras of these landscapes, of these portals, of these signs, you know what I'm saying, of these wheels, right? Then once they got it, then Kemet and all that other shit came and created what they created behind it. Then the other shit came in. The reason, but the one thing you will never forget is you as above, so below, and how you looking at the planets in general. See what I'm saying? Flight boss, bitch, goddamn air. Always see the signs.